Welcome into the Sportsmemo podcast, the NFL opening line report with our guest Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome into the podcast. How are you?
I didn't have a very good NFL weekend. It's Thanksgiving. Everyone's running around. But all that being said, man, there's some good opportunities on this week's NFL card. I'm excited to talk about the lines and where they're opening and where we can expect them to move. And again, this last week was not a good one. But week 12, I'm expecting a different story, man. There's some good opportunities. Of course, there's some games we're going to talk about. I'm going to have posted as early as Tuesday, tomorrow. Certainly for Thursday's action. I expect to post very early this week because we have 3 games on Thanksgiving. I'm assuming that's what we're going to start with.
Absolutely, Teddy, we will. And, you say you have a bad NFL weekend, but the college wasn't too bad. Your 20-star went wire to wire with Northwestern covering, so that's not all bad, huh?
No, look, I can't, I'm not going to freak out. I won yesterday in the NBA. The college weekend was good. But all that being said is my job is to win. I didn't win yesterday. Therefore, I failed. Therefore, it's Monday morning and we got to, let's figure out. Yesterday there was one that I should have been smart enough not to play. There was one that I was unlucky, and there was one that I was shocked at. And I'm still shocked at it and thinking about it this morning. So we'll talk about it. But the bottom line is, my job is to win. My job is to help my clients, not hurt them. And, it's all rear. It doesn't matter. Win or lose, it's all rear view mirror on a Monday morning. So, we'll see what we can do to get back on track this week. I'll just put it that way. And like I said, at first look, there really looks some solid opportunities.
And guys, if you're a long-term listener of the podcast, you know about the Turkey Day Shootout, something we've been doing for, I believe, 10 plus years here at Sportsmemo. And we're going to continue it here this year. We got, and we're even lowering the price even more. It's $49 for the all access all week long. All you got to do is use coupon code SHOOTOUT. That's SHOOTOUT at checkout. That's gives you $49 for the full week, all access, college football, NFL, college basketball, NBA, whatever sport the handicapper you choose does. You'll get all the plays for the full week for just $49. So that's pretty much half off here with the coupon code SHOOTOUT. Something great to use, especially this week. You're out with friends, family. The whole week, you just get the email, put in the play, so it's not something you have to check the website all the time. So that's coupon code SHOOTOUT for 7-day all access, Turkey Day Shootout for just $49 on the website. And make sure, guys, to enjoy the time with your family, friends, all the listeners out there. We appreciate you listening in, and to give thanks for the fine country we live in. And even if you live outside the country, always give thanks. Canada, Mexico, on either side of the pond, South America, everybody listening, we appreciate you tuning in. Teddy, we get the numbers, man. We got people in Mexico City. We got people in Canada. You'd be surprised. Have you seen the map of the listenership?
I'm not surprised at all. I know there's an enormous international interest in betting on American sports. I've seen it. For many years, and I'm not surprised at all we have an international audience. To you guys, well, enjoy Thanksgiving too. But the bottom line for us is we got a 3-day sprint with a ton of info we got to give out. So let's begin.
Let's get after it. All right. We got Thursday slate, Sunday slate. Anything real quick on Kansas City, LA Rams for the people listening for tonight's game?
The more I hear the Rams want to run Gurley on every single play in this ball game. I can understand why there's under money coming in. All the 3.5s are gone right now on KC, down to 3 across the board. If you miss the Chiefs at the best of the number, please don't be foolish and take them at the worst of the number.
Yeah, and the highest totaled NFL game possibly ever, at least since 1990. Is that correct, Teddy?
Yeah, and again, all the numbers before 1990, I don't believe a one of them. I don't. So I should say, they may have a general accuracy, but when we talk about the line, pre-1990, there's no the line. The line was, 6 here and 4 there and 2 down the street. So, I take all those numbers with a grain of salt.
All right, guys, let's get into the nuts and bolts of the podcast here. We got 105-106 Chicago at Detroit. Looks like the Bears laying 4 on the highway, 46 the total, Teddy.
Yeah, and of course the goal of this podcast is always to talk about where the lines are, where we expect them to move. Should we bet this game early in the week? Should we wait until closer to kickoff? As with every single game, I'm going to give you two lines. I'm going to give you the look-ahead line. This was a bettable line from the Westgate Superbook last week, or what do they call it? They're called Superbook USA now. The Superbook from last week, so you could bet on this before these games. The Week 11 games were played, a bettable number. And, of course, I'm going to give you my powering number for these two teams. So the look-ahead for the Bears-Lions, look-ahead was 3.5. My powering number is 3. And the markets, they're mostly 4s out there, but the 3.5 stand out. The 3.5 at Penny, 3.5 at the Canner. That tells us that the sharpest books haven't moved to 4 and may not move to 4 on this. So you say, urgent, bet the Bears, and lay the 3.5 here. I'm not convinced of it, simply because that the two of the stronger leading indicator books, one here in Vegas, one offshore, have not moved to the prevailing number of 4 right now. There's even a 4.5, prominent 4.5 on the board right now, but I'm not sensing that this is a must move. Now, as we approach kickoff, look, the money's going to come on the Bears, I would think. And it's not going to hurt you to lay the 3.5. Now, this line does not go back down to 3, but this does not feel like a skyrocketing number that's just going to go up, up, and up. Of course, 46 as the total. That's a little bit high for Bears games. That game snuck over last night with Nagy going for 2 and affecting the whole game plan thereafter. But considering how dominant that Bears defense looked again against Minnesota last night, that 46, I can't anticipate that number is going to go any higher.
NFC East matchup here, Teddy. We got Washington at Dallas. 40.5 the total. Looks like 7.5 is what the Cowboys are laying at home.
Yeah, look ahead line here was 5. My powering number, and this is a Alex Smith injured, Colt McCoy in powering number, 5.5. I made a 2-point adjustment for Smith to McCoy. That might be too much, to be honest. Alex Smith wasn't good. Serviceable, but not good. And Colt McCoy is serviceable and not good. I made a 2-point adjustment, and the market's made a much bigger one than that. Of course, the Redskins' injury problems aren't just at the QB position. They're still missing 3 offensive linemen. They're still missing most of their offensive skill position talent. But, boy, you read the comments from Washington after their last second loss yesterday. They're like, hey, bring it on. We're ready to go. Cover the number again against the Texans, even in defeat. And while we've seen the road team struggle on Thursdays all year long, the Thanksgiving games are different. It feels like there's a chance for the road team, just so they've been in this rhythm so many times before. The talk of the Redskins, the locker room was positive, and Washington in position here to, I'm not going to say take command of the division. No one's going to take command of this division. There's a path, by the way, for the New York Giants to win the NFC East right now, as I was looking at last night. But the bottom line is the money's come on Washington so far. Dallas, not a team that has much of a track record of winning by margin in the Jason Garrett era. They tend to win close, tight games. The market's seeing that already. There were 8. 8 was a primary number last night. Now it's 7.5. So it looks like this game is going to 7 if you like the Redskins. This isn't the emergency betting alert game, but if you like the Redskins, I would bet them sooner rather than later. There's already a 7 out there, a prominent 7 out there in the markets, and there may well be more.
Teddy, we got a trifecta of games here on Thanksgiving, and the night game, NFC South matchup, a rivalry of sorts, at least from the Atlanta perspective. I know from living there. We got the Falcons at the New Orleans Saints, 59.5 the total, seeing a kind of dead number here, anywhere from 11.5 all the way up to 13 as far as the Saints laying at home.
Yeah, and just like we talk about between 7.5 and 9, it doesn't take much to move a game from 7.5 up to 9 because 8 is a fairly dead number, and 8.5 equally dead, obviously, in the NFL. A similar story between 11.5 and 13. It'll take one big bet, and the markets might move it 1.5 or a couple of big bets, and the markets will move it fairly significantly. And I almost tweeted this yesterday because I feel like I should be taken out to the woodshed. I had the Eagles. And I knew that the Saints were really good. And I learned my lesson betting against the Saints, but I didn't learn my lesson betting against the Saints at home. My lesson is learned. The one thing that I did do, and this is going to help prevent me from betting the Saints, betting against the Saints at home. And, of course, now might be the time, but not with my money. Not with as bad as, whatever. The Saints are a juggernaut right now, and everyone knows it, and the markets know it. But I upgraded New Orleans significantly in my numbers, and I don't usually make those kind of big swings. But I mean, the Saints are a field goal better than anyone else in the league right now, at least. And the markets are saying that. Look ahead line here was 11. My powering number is 13, and the market's at 12.5 and 13. I don't think it gets to 2 touchdowns here if we see third. And even with Atlanta's problem, even with Atlanta losing, yesterday to Dallas to doom their chances. As you mentioned, you say a meaningful divisional rivalry, and the Falcons, the back door could always be open in this ball game. So at 13 and at 14, we will see buyback on Atlanta, and we haven't seen anything close to 14 yet. In fact, from the early indications, 12.5, 13 is where it's going to sit all week. Total of 59. It's not going down. I'll tell you that much.
Teddy, on to the Sunday slate. We got 251, 252 Jacksonville Jaguars at the Buffalo Bills. Looks like 3 or 3.5, depending where you're shopping. 37.5 the total.
The look ahead line here was Jags -4. My powering number is Buffalo -1. I'm not. I mean, the markets continue to price Jacksonville as somebody that can play, and as we saw again yesterday. The Jags, this is a team now that they lost 5 in a row.
They were right in it, though, Teddy.
Yeah, but they're in it, and they lose it. Now they got to win a game in Buffalo against a Bills team coming off a bye. It looks like Josh Allen's going to be back for the Bills this week, and they're better with Allen. And Buffalo plays defense. Jacksonville doesn't right now. And admittedly, the calls went against the Jags yesterday, and they got the game-saving interception and penalty, and here's their Big Ben. We'll give you another chance, but the Jags are being priced like a good team or a competitive team, and they're not. They're a 3-7 team that's lost 5 in a row, and everything's falling apart, and everyone hates each other in that locker room. And this line has to come down. The 3.5 won't be there. Grab a 3.5 if you like Buffalo. This line's going to 3.
Emergency betting alert from Teddy Covers. That's it. You just heard it. 253, 254. Teddy, Oakland at Baltimore. Looks like 42.5 the total with 10.5 or 11 in the marketplace.
And it's so funny, man, when you see these commentators just excuse me, let's overreact to everything. Someone was saying it wouldn't be possible for Harbaugh to put Joe Flacco back in now that Lamar Jackson's guided them to a win. No, dude, Lamar Jackson couldn't throw the football yesterday. Now, he can run the football, and he ran it very effectively. In fact, he had more carries than any quarterback in NFL. There was one guy in 1940 or something who was actually a running back, and they just direct snapped to him and had more carries than Lamar Jackson did yesterday. That's the type of workload he has at a QB, and you worry about how taking NFL hits is going to affect him. And there's no passing game. I mean, it's a one-dimensional offense. Now that might work against Oakland. The Raiders coming off a win, and again, Gruden wants to win. I understand he wants to win. I wonder how much he'll want to win when the draft order gets announced next year. There was no look-ahead line on this game. Questions about Flacco. My powering number with Lamar Jackson is Baltimore -10. Flacco still a question mark, and the market's moving towards the Ravens. Look. It's an Oakland team, a West Coast team traveling east for an early start game. They're coming off a win. The markets are really struggling to attract Oakland money. We saw that yesterday, though the wise guys came in heavy at the close. But I would also expect to see not a ton of under money here, but maybe some under money. 43.5 bet down to 42.5. And certainly the Raiders are not an under team, but from a game plan style, we would expect, especially if Flacco sits again, Baltimore to be handing the football off on basically every play, which tends to bode well for unders.
Teddy, we got San Francisco at Tampa Bay. Looks like the Bucs laying 3.5 across the board, 55 the total.
Yeah, look ahead line here was Tampa -5. My powering number is Tampa -3. And the markets are a little bit in between, but it's interesting to see. San Fran didn't play. Tampa played and lost again, and we've seen the big adjustment. Not a big adjustment, 5 down to 3.5, but an adjustment. The markets are saying, yeah, this Bucs team, whatever they had left in the tank, may not be there. And it's the same story with Tampa every week. I mean, it really is. They fall behind, they change quarterbacks, they make a rally, the game flies over, and then they don't win. And that's been, it feels very lame duckish in Tampa right now. It feels like another rebuilding job, and those aren't the type of teams that tend to attract a ton of betting market support. But at 3.5, I see no indication that this line is moving at all, despite Shanahan coming off a bye. Haven't heard yet who San Fran is going to start at QB this week. Total-wise, 55. We're seeing some under indicators here. I would bet the under now, if you liked it, for Tampa and San Fran. I do expect this total to get bet down at least a notch, and maybe two. I'm not convinced San Fran's a team that should be totaled in the 55 range, even though Tampa most assuredly is.
Teddy, NFC East here, New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles. Looks like the Eagles 6 or 5.5, depending where you're shopping, and 46 the total.
Break up the Giants. Look ahead line here, Philly minus 9.5. My powering number, Philly minus 6. And the markets are coming even, they're 5.5, 6 right now. I think the adjustment is warranted for both teams. This is a spot, we're talking about a look ahead of 9.5 and a current number of 5.5. That's a 4-point move. But from what we the Eagles had the bad loss against Dallas, and then they went to New Orleans, and that was embarrassing. It was flat out. They could not compete on the same field. So this is the defending Super Bowl champs, and their season's ruined, and they don't know what they're doing, and it's a little hopeless for Philadelphia right now. And boy, you look at Indy with Frank Reich and the play calling there, and you look at what the Eagles did yesterday without Frank Reich and Doug Peterson, looking a little bit lost right now. The good news is we were able to cash our Eagles under 10.5 wins with the loss yesterday. That's 2 of those in the books already before Thanksgiving, which I like to see. San Fran under 8.5. The big ticket also cashing in. I think Kansas City, I still need another. No, the Chiefs are a winner too. I got 3 of those in the books by Thanksgiving out of 5 releases, which I'll take any day of the week. But Philly's a team going in the wrong direction right now, and the Giants aren't. There is a path. This god-awful Giants team that couldn't do anything right, there is a legitimate path for the Giants to win the NFC East. I don't know if it's real, but all of a sudden the playmakers are playing. All of a sudden the offensive line's there a little bit more, and defense got lit up yesterday. But, man, this spread seems a little bit rich. And, again, I understand. 9.5 was a look ahead, 5.5 now, but I can't imagine having Philly on my card anytime again soon. I'll just put it that way. And 2 teams with very different momentum levels coming in to Week 12. Whether any of that matters or not, it may not be the case. Philly annihilated the Giants the first time these 2 teams met.
Teddy, we got 259-260 Cleveland at Cincinnati. Looks like 47.5 the total with 3 with some juice. That's what Cincinnati is laying at home.
Yeah, look ahead line was Bengals minus 3.5. My powering number is Bengals minus 3.5. The markets are 3, minus 115 or minus 120 in a lot of spots. I'm not getting the sense that it's necessarily going to go to 3.5. AJ Green, however, is going to be the question mark here. If Green does play, the line likely to move up. If he does not, I would expect Cleveland to go off as a 3-point underdog coming off thereby against a Bengals team that's really fallen on hard times. Since these defensive numbers were better yesterday, but of course they played a team that couldn't throw the football at all and still found a way to lose. Things not going well for Marvin Lewis' squad, and I'm not anticipating they're going to get a ton of support here unless A.J. Green is back in the lineup.
Guys, if you're listening, you're there at sportsmemo.com. Remember, Monday, $9 Monday. All plays are marked down to just $9. Something to definitely check out and take advantage of each and every Monday at sportsmemo.com. $9 Monday. We got 261-262 New England at the New York Jets. Looks like 9 pretty much across the board. Seeing 9.5 with reduced juice at Chris. 46 or 46.5 the total, Teddy.
Oh, no, Penny's at 9.5, South Point's at 9.5, Canner's at 9.5.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, the markets are mostly 9.5 here. I see 1.9 or 2.9. Westgate's at 9, Greek's at 9, but it's mostly 9.5. And this is really interesting. Look ahead line here. Patriots minus 8. The Patriots didn't play last week. The Jets didn't play last week. now New England's 9.5. Explain that to me. Because I can't. When there's no news, it's just, all right, well, the look ahead line wasn't high enough. My power number here is New England 7.5. The Patriots with or without Gronk, a huge difference. New England on the road has not been the same team this year. They haven't been winning games by margin. The Jets have been awful and embarrassed of late, and coming off a bye, it's supposed to be their spot. And they've given the Patriots some trouble in these spots. Have not heard yet about Sam Darnold, whether he's going to be able to go for New York. McCown was pretty rough in his season debut before the bye, but he has had success with the Jets and against New England in years past. This line's not going anywhere. 9.5. Total 46.5. We could see some under money here, but again, I'm not expecting a significant adjustment off the current numbers.
Teddy, we got Seattle at Carolina, 47 or 47.5. The total, seeing a 3 at Chris, 3.5 at Heritage. That's the Panthers laying at home.
And this is your legit emergency betting alert. If you want Seattle at plus 3.5, get them now. This line, the 3.5s aren't going to hold. I don't think they're going to hold. It doesn't look like they're going to hold. So I would get involved sooner rather than later if you like the Seahawks side of the equation. Back-to-back losses for Carolina. Ron Rivera is getting criticized for going for 2 instead of kicking the extra point. And, of course, he would have gotten criticized if he kicked the extra point, and the Lions would have got marched down the field with their 3 timeouts and kicked the game-winning field goal. Coaches can't win if the team doesn't win. Whatever happens, hey, if it works, that's great. If it doesn't, we'll rip them. I don't mind Rivera going for 2 right there. I don't mind a coach ever going for the win. But, Carolina's another team that we've seen a fair bit of home-road dichotomy. They've come back to the pack the last couple of weeks, and the Seahawks' ability to run the football plays into a defensive weakness for Carolina in recent weeks. So I anticipate more Seattle money, even though the look ahead here was 4.5, and my power rate number is 4.5. I expect this game to close Carolina -3, probably -120, but Carolina -3 is what I expect to be the closing number.
Teddy, you were talking about your NFL season under wins a few games ago, and we got the Dolphins up next. What, they need another two wins, right, for you to hit?
Yeah, they got to go 2-4 in their last 6. They go 1-5, I'm screwed. But if they go 2-4, we cash over 6.5 with Miami.
So hypothetical, if you had to double your bet, or you could erase it right now, which one would you choose?
Let me look at the Dolphins' final 6. I don't think it's pretty. And I remember thinking that they were supposed to be. I'm not bullish on Miami, but I think they're going to steal a game or 2 somewhere down the road. What do they got? At Indy, Buffalo at home, New England at home, at Minnesota, Jacksonville at home, at Buffalo Week 17. And I got to win 2 of those. I can double it or take it back.
Yeah.
It's close to pick 'em. Okay. It's not an easy call. That being said, I'm certainly not dead, and maybe Miami. Look, if Tannehill comes back this week, Miami's live to do something. Osweiler's not going to do anything, and certainly there was no look headline for this ball game based on the question marks about Tannehill. My powering number, and I got Indy high, is 8, and the market's this morning sitting at 9.5, 10 across the board. Here, Colts getting a lot of. And look, Indy played a great game yesterday on both sides of the football. That team's in real nice rhythm at home right now. And I get the offense since Marlon Mack got back. It's night and day. And Andrew Luck looks comfortable. And I'm not sure how much of it was the Colts defense and how much of it was just Tennessee looking in that. But Andy was in the backfield. And he played a really good defensive game yesterday. And if they do that here against Miami, the Dolphins have their share of playmakers, but the Dolphins also have cluster injuries on the offensive line. They are coming off a bye. We do like Gase with extra time to prepare, and I wouldn't be shocked to see Miami give him a game, but not without Tannehill going a full week of practice, which I haven't gotten the sense. And again, we'll do some investigating later today, but bottom line is at 9.5. The 10s have been bought down to 9.5, and it feels like. If you can catch a 10 now, put plus 10. If you like Miami, you might want to do that. The market's likely to go a little bit lower. Indy's season-long defensive stats not as good as their current form.
Teddy, I read an article late last week about Tannehill was aiming, his throwing regimen to be ready to go for this game. Is that what you're hearing?
Yes, that's what I heard, but I have not heard an update. And you want the update. You want Tannehill practice fully today, and the coaching staff says he's ready to go. But certainly the early money on Miami, an indicator that the markets do think Tannehill is going to play.
All right.
And Miami, Tannehill to Osweiler is a bigger change than Alex Smith to Colt McCoy, for what it's worth. Tannehill can play.
Absolutely. I'm in agreement with you. We got 267, 268 Arizona, LA Chargers. Looks like 45 the total, 11.5 or 12s in the marketplace. That's the LA Chargers laying at home.
Yeah, look headline was Chargers minus 13. My powering number, Chargers minus 12.5. Arizona coming off a frustrating loss. They were the better team and let it get away. At the end of the post-game quotes were, we were the better team, we let it get away. At the end, I'm going to say they're a frustrated team. That's, directly from the quotes that I was reading after the game. And the Chargers, similarly, the quotes were very, very similar. Whereas we were way better than Denver. We screwed up. We turned the ball over. That's what LA does. This Chargers team on a yards per play basis, the markets love them. They are sky high in the betting markets because of their statistical profile that is very, very impressive on both sides of the football. But the Chargers do stupid things. They have for years. They've done throughout the Phillip Rivers era. I don't know what he's thinking on his pick, on his second pick yesterday. That's going to hold the Chargers back, and that's going to hold them back in the betting markets, and that's going to hold them back in terms of their upside. And, personnel-wise, this team can play with anyone, but they still, a lot of mistakes for LA week in, week out, and the market's reacting to that, obviously, with the number here in the 11.5/12 range. This line's not going anywhere. It's going to sit in this, no man's land between 11.5 and 13 all week long.
We got 269, 270 Pittsburgh at Denver. 47 is the total, Teddy. Chris at 3. That's the Steelers laying on the road. Most Vegas books at 3.5.
Yeah, look at line here was 6. My powering number is 3, and I'm not high on Denver. But to see the Steelers with the look at line at 6, I'm like, really? Especially Pittsburgh hasn't played well, another team that hasn't played well on the road this season, and Big Ben looking lost for extended stretches of games in Pittsburgh, coming off a wild come-from-behind win in Jacksonville and now going up and playing in altitude. It's not a Steelers spot, and they're in control of their division and all of that, and Denver's coming off a win, and they have a chance to turn things around. I was impressed with the Broncos' offensive line yesterday. They ran the football very effectively, which, in theory, is supposed to work against the Steelers. We saw the Jags use that same game plan yesterday to get ahead of Pittsburgh. But, when the look ahead line was 6 and the markets are 3.5/3, and I'm not getting the sense this is definitely going down to 3, but it's not going to hurt if you like the Broncos to grab your 3.5 now. It's more likely to come down than it is to go up. No early movement on the total. Obviously, at this time of the year, you have to be very aware of the weather conditions, and the long-term forecast does indicate there could be some problems in the Rocky Mountains next weekend.
Teddy, we got the Sunday nighter. Green Bay at Minnesota, 48 the total, seeing 3.5s, couple 4s out there. That's the Vikings laying at home.
Yeah, look ahead line here was Vikings minus 4. My powering number is Vikings minus 4. And, of all the things that I saw yesterday, the thing that I was I think that I was most surprised by is Kirk Cousins looking like a rookie quarterback, and a Vikings offensive line and a Vikings brain trust that couldn't design a game plan on offense to contain Khalil Mack. It's like, John DeFilippo was brilliant as the QB coach in Philadelphia last year. And he's got 2 weeks to prepare, and you come up with that game plan against, Mack was in the backfield on every play. And Minnesota, where were the adjustments, And the beauty of that game from a betting perspective is that the box score is about as misleading as it's ever going to be. The box score, I just want to check the numbers real quick on that, because the box scores were like, yeah, these two teams were even. Yards per play, they were, yards per play 4.3 to 4.3. The Vikings had more passing yards. The Vikings had more yards per pass. Yeah, but turnovers even. But if you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. Minnesota didn't do anything until it was garbage time. And then all of a sudden, they've thrown the ball over the football field and everything's going great. But My respect for Minnesota's brain trust is enormous, and to see the game plan like he did yesterday, well, it was McCarthy-esque. I'll just put it that way. That being said, McCarthy is McCarthy. 3.5, 4. This line's not going anywhere. The total might get bet up a little bit, but even that, it's not any rush to the window type of situation with Green Bay and Minnesota. This game is, is going to sit in this range. It's a pair of teams that bettors not likely to be too excited about getting involved with this week, even though it is a marquee matchup.
Teddy, last game here next Monday night, Tennessee, Houston. Not seeing a line, so not sure where you want to go with this one.
I'll give you the look-ahead line was Houston -4. My powering number with Mariota is Houston -4. Mariota's a question mark. Blaine Gabbert came in, and not that Mariota was good. They were down 24-0, but I think the Titans offense would have done a little bit more yesterday if Mariota plays the full game. Gabbert came in, they dumbed down the game plan. They didn't really chuck the ball downfield a whole lot, but Tennessee's been a little mercurial this season. When they're good, they're really good. When they're bad, they're really bad. Whereas, obviously, the Texans are a team with a pretty big betting bandwagon after 7 straight wins, although they failed to cover, knocking off the Redskins by only 2, especially if Mariota's out and it's Gabbert. The market's knee-jerk against Gabbert every time. They'll be Texans money. If Mariota plays, the markets will likely respect Tennessee's defense prior to Indy, and we'll probably see a number in the 4 range that we saw, maybe 4.5 that we saw the look ahead.
Guys, we got a condensed podcast schedule this week. We'll be right back with NHL podcast with Andrew McGinnis. Tomorrow we got the college football Every Game on the Board podcast, and Wednesday the NFL Every Game on the Board cast. Teddy Covers will be a part of both of them. Teddy, anything else you want to throw out on today's podcast?
What do I want to throw out? I'm going to throw out every loser and keep every winner, my friend. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the games. Good luck tonight. And I'll be back here tomorrow and Wednesday. Of course, no podcast Thursday and Friday this week. Yeah, we got Thanksgiving. We've got families, and we're going to spend some time with them and watch a little football, too, and basketball and everything. That's all I got.
Well said, Teddy. And guys, remember the coupon code SHOOTOUT at checkout for $49 for full week with Teddy Covers, all access with any handicapper you choose on Sportsmemo. The coupon code is SHOOTOUT. We'll be right back with McGinnis doing a little NHL.